of time, I think I probably can give like a. Okay, thanks. We can just get started and I can give a context, right? So I think, we're the batch of 2000, as we planned our reunion this year, we started to think about what is that we can do to give it back to the university, right? University is a body of students. You are the ones who actually make it. So basically, trying to think through, how we can help you is how it all started. We raised some funds, right? We're, working with the Graduate Association and Satish and team in order to be able to get you some latest equipment out there, right, to help you beyond your just labs. So that's one of the things. But in addition, I thought, this is one of the series we can start where we can bring in experts from our batch, right? Everybody's got 25 years of experience. The technology leaders and experts, exist today. So we're looking to see how many of them we can bring through and therefore, present to you topic of your interest, topic of their expertise, and therefore, make the most of a session. Right. So with that, we'll get started. Ragotham's the first one who's agreed graciously to be able to talk to you guys. Initial, opinion was, ask me anything. I'm willing to, go ahead and start off. Right. So, but I'll just give you a brief of, what he's been through. Therefore, you can get a sense of, what all he has touched upon in terms of technology and what is his background and expertise. So you can go ahead and ask questions, towards the end of the session. So Raghotham is right now the technical lead for developer platform within the Meta Superintelligence Lab and is a creator of Llama Stack. I know some of you have asked about it. Prior to this, he has been a founder of and CEO of Datacoral, a serverless data infrastructure as a service, which is acquired by Cloudera. At Cloudera, he was the CVP of their innovation accelerator. He's also headed engineering at Bebop, which was acquired by Google. And he was an EIR at Social Capital. In his previous stint at Meta, he was the founding engineer of Apache Hive and led data infrastructure and Android teams. Early in his career, he has also worked on distributed systems and databases at Yahoo. His master's and was in a PhD program in computer science at Stanford. And of course, hails from UVCE. So over to you, Raghotham. Thank you very much for doing this. Um,
Yeah.
Just before he starts, I just have a thing to say.
thank you, Chetan.
He just had his
Yes,
birthday. Let's wish him.
birthday.
Hmm.
I know. Happy belated birthday. Thanks for that, Chetan.
Yeah.
Sure.
Happy birthday, sir.
Making me feel older and older, but I'm glad my batchmates are here because they also know how old they are. So I'm good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, cool. I mean, I didn't have like a prepared presentation or anything like that, but maybe I can just talk. Might not be the whole 20 minutes as well. I wanted to spend more time trying to even understand what types of questions the students nowadays have, because it's been a while since I've been a student myself, and also a lot of the times we end up working with people who have a lot more experience in the industry. And folks now who are currently in college will graduate out into, frankly, like a very quickly evolving world. And it's not yet clear actually like how things are going to go, especially in terms of how AI is going to disrupt a lot of the things that you might be thinking you'll be working on. Maybe they'll become easier. There's this whole notion of scarcity, abundance, and things like that. So I can talk to a little bit of that. Um, but yeah, at a high level, I think uh, I just wanted to maybe say a few things. Like Sucharita mentioned, like after graduating, my focus was mostly on systems. And by systems, it's software, right? I think that is kind of important to kind of note, like if there are any questions around like hardware and like GPUs and like things like that, I might not be able to answer. I'll ask ChatGPT and maybe give you like a coherent answer after that. um, but yeah, so the most of my career I've been spending working on distributed systems and databases, and systems in general. Like they're more deterministic, or your entire goal is to make it so that they're predictable, right? If they behave unpredictably, then that's actually a problem. It's something that you have to go and fix. Um, but then along came, and for the most part, I actually stayed away from AI or ML, mainly because I felt like it was non-deterministic and like not something that my kind of quote unquote um, uh, kind of OCD brain would tolerate. Like if things are non-deterministic and still okay, then I felt like, okay, that's not something that I actually even want to work with. Um, but then when ChatGPT came out, my kind of perception changed fairly dramatically. Like I guess a lot of people's perception as well. Um, Even with these non-deterministic systems, you can build something that is extremely useful. I think uh, that's the most important kind of takeaway. And then uh, my own goal became, okay, now having spent all of these years kind of working on systems that may soon be overtaken or not, at least there is this kind of new way of kind of building useful systems or useful um, kind of products that were based on kind of these models that are non-deterministic. Um, and I just wanted to just either my options were either age out or actually try to dive in and learn, and decided to do the latter, which I'm glad about. And at Meta over the past year and change, been part of the teams that are building these models, these large language models. Um, but I won't go into too much of the technical details because again, I want to see what kind of questions come up and to see what level of detail to kind of get into. Um, so building these teams that are building large language models, these scientists, I mean, from the outside, you feel like, oh my goodness, like they're doing magic, right? Uh, every few weeks, there are new models that are coming out that are much more powerful, much more capable. And then actually, once you see how these models are actually getting built, you start realizing how hard it is, how much of a grind it is actually. Um, and again, there's a lot of technical detail that goes into it. But the uh, my learnings have been that the more you are kind of open to learning how these models are built, or like learning the kind of grind that goes into it, just high level, it's a lot of trial and error, right? Like if you think about, I guess the a great analogy is being a chef, right? So anybody gets all the ingredients, which is kind of the data, but it takes like a really good chef to actually put together like a nice meal. I don't know how far this analogy will go, but this is kind of for this level of detail. I think that's good. So being the set of people who have kind of seen how good food gets made with a lot of these ingredients is what gets the value, right? So these are the folks who are able to actually put together different kinds of data, come up with new algorithms as well, have a bunch of innovations, but then ultimately this is an empirical science, and that has been like a some of the learnings that I've had. And the work that I've done around Llama Stack specifically was that these models that Meta was releasing, they were just putting these model weights out in the open, and it was essentially left as an exercise to the ecosystem to figure out how to use those models, right? So I came up with a software stack that makes it easy for people to actually start using Llama models, and now it has kind of taken a life of its own where it's not just Llama models. People are trying to serve other models as well using Llama Stack, and we have companies like Red Hat and IBM and Oracle who are shipping Llama Stack as a software stack that it looks like the OpenAI software stack, right? If you use the OpenAI APIs, there's a certain shape to the APIs to do inference, to do safety moderations, vector stores, and things like that. So we try to make the API to be exactly the same as whatever OpenAI offers, but we do it in open source. And what that means is developers who are in uh, companies that don't have access to OpenAI or want to add more models than whatever OpenAI offers, they can use something like Llama Stack to do that. So that's been kind of my high level journey. I'll probably actually stop there unless maybe the moderators want me to kind of go further. But I really, like I said, I wanted to just see I wanted to learn what types of questions folks in colleges have nowadays. So that is what I'm curious about too. So happy to open it up to questions right now. And is
So
there a format, Satish? Maybe you can.
not specific format, but yeah, maybe I'm not sure if like say it was mentioned. So there is a separate AI ML branch now in the college in the under the computer science department. So the first batch, like say, will be like say they've just graduated this year, 2025. So there are few people who have, I think I'm pretty sure from AIML also they have joined today. So yeah, I mean, we will definitely open it up for the students if they have whatever the specific questions or if they want to understand a specific terminology as you mentioned. So to anyone, like say, you can also maybe if you want to speak up, definitely unmute yourself. You can question, or if you want, you can also directly send a chat and I can read it out also, no problem. So anyone, any specific thing that you wanted to ask Raghotham, you can feel free. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
just to kind of break the ice, I guess,
yeah.
I would like to know like what batches or like what branches each of these students are in, what year, and uh, like just understanding that will also be helpful.
Sure. So, I mean, guys, you can feel free. You can unmute yourself. Just quick introduction. Maybe you can tell which semester, which branch you are from.
Good evening, sir.
Right.
Go ahead.
Hi.
Hello, sir. This is Mahadevi from 26 batch CSEs, and like many of them are now like many companies wanted freshers either to use the AI tools or like have something knowledge who can develop the AI tools. But what I feel is, uh, if we go on increasing the AI tools, then our thinking capacity of our brain will be reduced now, sir. What is your opinion about it?
Yeah, good question actually. So uh, yeah, this might be like a little bit of a roundabout answer, but I'll tell you kind of what we used to do, right? So back in the day, to multiply large numbers or like do a lot of arithmetic, we use these things called log tables. I don't know if you only, I guess, people of my age group know about what those log tables are, right? Uh, these are literally books that you had to refer to figure out what the calculation that you had to do. So along came calculators, and by the way, like using a logbook well was a very useful skill, especially in an exam or something, right? Like where if you took a lot of time to just trying to figure out what to look up or whatever, then you're just wasting a bunch of time. So you had to practice it, you had to kind of learn a lot about it. But then along came calculators, and like you're suddenly that is not where your brain power is being spent, right? So calculating things is no longer where you a lot of this notion of cognitive load, right? Like where are you spending time? Uh, so that is what calculators did, and I'm I guess the term that people use is called techno optimist. I guess that's the term, where the idea is that techno optimist is kind of, at least the way I look at it, is actually you being bullish about the human intellect, right? Rather than saying that okay, technology is going to take over. It's like the more tools of the more powerful tools that you have, the human brain is able to adapt uh, to say, okay, now whatever I was spending a lot of time trying to do, oh, now suddenly somebody else is doing it, or like the system is doing it. So now what more can I do, right? And this is how I guess technological progress has happened, right, throughout the years. Yes, it is a disruption. It is different from what you're used to. Like a lot of the skills that you may have picked up uh, in school, for example, or even for folks like myself, like in our careers, may not be as relevant anymore, right? That does not mean that the next generation of people who come in being native to calculators or native to AI will be able to do more things that we cannot imagine, right? And like a much more recent example is kind of when the iPhone came out back in 2007. Nobody knew that Uber and Airbnb would be your multi-billion dollar companies, right? We didn't even know the shape of these apps or these services that would arise to become really big. And it only took kind of the new generation of kind of people who could think in terms of, okay, what if there was like a big glowing screen that people could use with location services, right? And Wi-Fi or and connectivity. And suddenly a lot of net new kind of companies kind of came along. Feel like with AI, it's something similar. It's much more disruptive because your mental model has to change a little bit, right? Not just in terms of how to use a new device or a new surface, but the fact that now you have like a really powerful tool that you now have at your disposal, right? Um, so the only way seems to be that like and also by the way, like nowadays, like whatever AI systems or like the products that you might see out there, they're not that great actually, or how great that they can be, or like how reliable they can be. People are working very actively on that. Imagine you had like a very powerful calculator, but it only gave you the right answers maybe like 40 or 50% of the time, right? So now the question is, would you use it in an exam or not? That's kind of where we are right now, right? Um, but uh, as things kind of get better or like more reliable, and people, there's a lot of work that's happening around that. Um, you can start realizing that there are some things that you can completely hand off to an AI. But even when it's not that reliable, if you have the skills, then you can guide an AI, right? I mean, this is the whole notion of co-pilots that have come along. And by the way, like I use these co-pilots all day to do whatever work I do. Like frankly, like over the last several years, I hadn't written a lot of code, but just in the last 3 4 months, especially since Claude Code and Codex, which is another tool that OpenAI has released, have become actually good. Um, I've, I've felt like I can do a lot more kind of work and get a lot of my ideas to uh, kind of come to life, right? So something like Llama Stack, by the way, as an experiment, I said, okay, so Llama Stack, it has like thousands of commits. It's been going around for about the last uh, year or so. There's maybe like 100 plus committers and all of that. So I was using Claude Code to essentially rebuild the entire thing from scratch, just to see what it might look like, because I just wanted to see what the dynamics would be. There are cases where it might just go off and write a lot of code that is complete gibberish and doesn't really make sense. But in many cases, if I knew how to think about it, use my own skills of being a software engineer, then I could move really, really fast. I don't know if that answers your question. And sorry, I didn't catch the name,
Yes,
the
sir.
first part.
Got.
Yeah.
But follow up to this, right? Now placement season has been started in our college. So recently, I wrote an online assessment where aptitude questions, like logical reasoning questions, were there. So, I have a habit of doing solving that manually, writing on the paper. While attending that online test, I was looking at I was solving it on my paper, sir. But the but it was showing me warning sign stating you are malpracticing or something. So,
Hmm.
we need to
That's
just look onto the screen throughout our test, right, sir? But I
Right.
was
that's
not able to
proctoring,
solve on my
perhaps.
paper, sir.
No, I mean, it's fine. Look, these are, like I said, right? We are in the at a time when these things are not extremely reliable, right? So it is very important, and people who are kind of administering these tests and everything else, they need to be really careful in not completely trusting whatever is there as well, right? So that's maybe like just an unfortunate kind of outcome. It's like saying because there is a bug in software, software should be not available to anyone, right? So these are bugs, is kind of how you think about it. But yeah, at the end of the day, like people who are relying on these tools should make the right calls, right? because that's why they are there to hire people. Otherwise, they just go and build a bunch of agents instead of hiring students or like hiring anyone, right? So that's not possible at all, uh, especially for as these jobs become um, uh, more complicated or like the more sophisticated, then there's always a need for humans who are there who have the expertise to actually guide the AI. So at least that's kind of, or use the AI to do the right things. Ultimately, it's humans who are in control, right?
Yeah, sir, one small thing. There are a couple of people who mentioned saying that the voice is a little bit low. They are not able to, like, say, the audio part from your side. Can you just,
Oh, really?
yeah, a couple of students mentioned it. So, yeah,
Is Yeah, I don't know if
no
yeah.
problem. I just wanted to mention it.
Is it
That's it.
breaking or is it just low?
The voice is low, is what they said. The audio
Low.
volume.
Let me see. Yeah, I think this is the best that I can
Okay,
Maybe
have
no problem.
speak up a
in
little
my.
bit
Come again?
if you're on the phone. Maybe speak up a little bit.
Okay.
You're a little distant,
Of the
yes.
kids. We'll see. Okay. All right.
Yeah, this
Is
is
this
better.
better?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I had to just lean in forward. I was leaning back a little. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, go ahead, guys. Any questions, anything that you wanted to ask that you can, like, say, go ahead now. I see there are some of the first years I could see because they recently joined the college also. There was an orientation also. And so I think some of them have also joined today.
Yeah, I see that. That's great, actually. So, in fact, one of the things that I'm hoping will happen, especially for these folks who are just about uh, joining college, is that uh, you're given all the tools or the latest tools to kind of work with, right? Otherwise, if I'm not saying don't learn the concepts and like the theory behind it, like the kinds of things that I guess even we learned. I mean, a lot of it is actually relevant. I still, even a couple of days ago, was thinking about state machines and like state transitions and things like that. So again, this is in CS, of course, but uh, the those concepts you definitely have to learn. But it'll be good if you start becoming a lot more comfortable, just like how you're a lot more comfortable like typing on your one hand on your phone or whatever. I think using AI to kind of do a lot of the work that you do. Um, uh, Hopefully that's encouraged. If not, try to do it outside, right? Like take on projects, take on things to do that will allow you to hone your skills. There are enough kind of really powerful tools that are available for free even. And those are things that you should always keep exploring. This is very different from how we grew up, I guess. We had just like a bunch of textbooks to kind of learn, and there was no other expectation, right? So we were asked the questions from the, I guess, the previous year's papers, and like whatever you got were your marks, and you got good marks, and then maybe you got a reasonable job because there was like a cookie cutter way that people had kind of come across. Maybe by the time the 2029 batch kind of graduates, they will get to there, that kind of a pattern, right? Where it's like they might ask you, hey, build me something in the next hour. And it'll be super complicated, but you're able to kind of just do that because you have access to these tools. Cool.
Hello, hello, sir.
Yes. Hi.
Yeah, sir, I had a question. Sir, LLMs are very costly to build and maintain in general. So, and Sam Altman has already said that he's losing money on ChatGPT. So, do you think these popular LLM versions like ChatGPT, Llama will stay free forever? Will they have free versions forever?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a good question. First of all, I think yes, it is very expensive to build them. Um, it is not very clear that there are great business models to sustain the spend that is needed to kind of build and improve these models. But people are trying, right? And people are willing to put in money as well. I mean, every other day there is some multi-billion dollar deal that gets announced between some of the largest companies in the world, right? So what was it last week? Nvidia said that they were going to invest $100 billion, and it's like these numbers are just insane, right? Um, I think uh, there are two ways of looking at it. One is, as these business models kind of become more apparent, you'll start seeing that a lot of what is being paid out to humans, right, in terms of, so there's this whole concept called service, what is it? So there is software as a service, right? So now there is this notion of services as software, right? Where the idea is you have all of these companies like Infosys, TCS, and a lot of the consulting firms that are essentially a human scale kind of operation, right? So the idea is that they're going to hire several people, and then these folks are going to become consultants in a lot of the companies that want to build things but don't have the appropriate manpower to do that. But then that money could now be rerouted partly to uh, working on AI. Now, this, of course, is a little bit alarming, right? Like, oh, are all the consulting jobs going to go away or whatever? But my first answer kind of hopefully makes it a little bit more palatable, which is that you'll now still need consultants who are going to go deal with all of the AI slop that gets produced. Now, I don't know if you have tried, sometimes, I mean, these AIs, they just go off and like write a bunch of code. And unless you are an expert or at least aware of kind of what this AI is doing, you have to go back and fix a bunch of stuff. So there'll still be a friend of mine and I, we were just talking a couple of days ago that it might actually uh, be the case that there are many more people who want to, who will be hired to actually fix a lot of what AI does, right? But at the same time, the overall economic output actually increases. I guess the GDP of the world increases is kind of how to look at it. Um, so yeah, until then, people will keep spending. The reason why they keep spending is because they had all of this money that was all invested in stock market or wherever else. Now they're finding that typically in the stock market you invest in a diverse way, right? Like you have invested in like many different kind of industries and companies. You can think of this as a lot more of trying to what is happening, it seems, is people are saying instead of investing in all of these other industries, like the investments are kind of becoming narrower in the sense that there is more money going into these AI type of companies rather than uh, any other company that's there nowadays, right? So software use became that actually. Before there was software, I mean, like 25 years ago, it was not like software companies were even in the top 100 of I mean, there was the, I guess, the dot-com boom and whatnot, but that also kind of came down just as we were graduating. So the top 10 companies in the world were not your Googles and Nvidias of the world, right? So uh, they were I don't know, I'll have to look it up now. They're probably kind of some manufacturing companies or even like consulting, some of the consulting companies, right? Now I do want to look it up. Not being ChatGPT. But anyway, yeah, maybe when the next question is being asked, I'll also ask at that point.
Hello, sir.
So yeah, I think that's the,
Hello, sir.
sorry.
I had a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So how can students start learning large language models? How to start building them from scratch and basically get into this world?
So there are yeah, definitely there are some really good kind of online courses that you can take. Um, Actually, there is a person named Andre Karpathy. He actually is a really well-known. I can maybe just put his name in here. Um, he has like very kind of easy to understand ways, and he has a bunch of videos as well. Um, he explained things extremely well. Like last year, actually, when I joined Meta, I was like, okay, I don't know what any of these things mean. So I watched his videos to understand a lot of a lot of the terminology that was being kind of talked about by the researchers there. So this is the name of the person, and maybe towards the end I'll find um, the specific videos. There's one like 2 or 3 hour video of him talking about everything about LLMs and how to build LLMs, right? And he kind of yeah, building a GPT from scratch. That's the one.
Hi, everyone.
So yeah, so you can kind of watch it. It is dense in the sense that if you're just about learning what software engineering is or how writing code looks like and things like that, it might take a little bit. But this is the one that I watched for sure, and I'm sure he is. This was probably from a couple years ago, and I'm sure he's written or like he has posted several other videos as well. Like he's been like a really good resource for me. There's also, I guess, the uh, courses in like Coursera or Udacity. I don't know which ones are available in India actually. Um, so there are some online courses too. I'll try and find some of them and share it with folks so that they can share it with you all as well. But yeah, definitely learning how to build an LLM is just to understand uh, what the math is behind it and how does data affect the quality of the model and so on. I think is very interesting to learn. Um, so this is only for people who are interested in building the models, right? There's also an entire set of things or like videos and things, and probably there's more of that on how to use the LLMs to build useful things, right? Um, it's like kind of thinking about is going back to a calculator, like knowing how the circuitry of the calculator works versus how to use the calculator to do the right thing. I mean, calculator is probably like a very simple thing, but something like that applies, right? So knowing what the shape of this system is that you want to use is helpful. Knowing the underlying kind of workings is also very helpful. But yeah, oh, maybe the a good analogy is a car, right? Like knowing how the car works is good, but you should also be a good driver, right? So you need to know all the rules of how to use it and so on. So maybe that's a good analogy to kind of think about. But yeah, I'll share more resources on that.
Yeah, hi sir, this is Namrata. So my question to you would be how we students specifically can use AI and how the existing software companies they're integrating AI into their systems or regular tasks when we talk about development, DevOps or testing, etc. So how's the AI actually being integrated? So I would like to know more inputs on that.
Yeah, I think your first question is like, how do you use them? I think uh, the a true but maybe not very useful answer is you have to try things out yourself, right? Like whatever you're trying to do, see if you can find resources to do that faster using like a code generation tool, or maybe there are other tools that are coming out. There are tools like Vercel that will allow you to build apps like web apps very, very quickly nowadays. Replit is another one. So there's a lot of tools nowadays that allow you to build things very quickly, right? And remember that I said build things very quickly. There don't seem to be that many things, tools or technology that are available just yet to maintain those things. As in, starting from scratch is very easy, but then going into a large system and trying to make changes and making sure that nothing breaks, that is still very hard, right? In fact, that's one of the problems that I'm trying to think a little bit more about. Um, the same thing, and I see kind of Chetan here, and he and I kind of chatted a little bit around security as well, right? So there is a lot of um, workflows that happen in companies around trust and safety and security that could be kind of made more automated, made more robust by using AI. And again, there's lots and lots of companies that are getting started to do that, and even students are. I mean, open source is a great thing because
Yes, it answered my question. Thanks for the input, sir.
Sir, I had one small request because, like, say in Marvel, what we are like also having is for students to do some hands-on projects kind of a thing, so that they start understanding the basic building blocks, right? So we will definitely share the syllabus and etc. with you so that you can have a quick look at it, and if you have some suggestion. But because the students are here, if is there something that you would like say suggest that? See, initially, a database project, for example, would always become like, okay, you have to build one website, you have to have a database, understand the relations, and you kind of get it done. So, anything like that that you would suggest the students to just get it started with? Because that is where I feel most of the students generally even come back to us saying, I want to learn, but where do I, like, say, or how do I get started? What is the small example kind of a thing, sir?
Yeah. So, yeah, like I gave you a list of a bunch of these tools, right, that make it easy, right? Um, so maybe just from the last year itself, like what used to take you a month to build, challenge yourself to build it in a day, right? I think that will be a good uh, forcing function to say, okay, now if you find that, okay, I'm not fast enough, or like I'm not able to get it in a day, then you can start asking the question of why, right? And again, I'm just talking in terms of the use of AI, right? Um, to do whatever. I'm not saying use AI to build a specific product. I'm saying use AI to speed up whatever you thought you were going to do anyway, right? Even for hardware projects or whatever, like coming up with the right designs and coming up uh, 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 with the best way to kind of get the. I think there was some question about what GPUs to use or whatever, right? So I was like, okay, I don't know anything about GPUs. I don't know how to go buy them. Let me just ask ChatGPT, right? And it actually gave me a list of things of like what I would need to go buy and like gave me the whole thing actually. I don't know. I mean, I didn't actually go try it. I don't know if that's even, did it just hallucinate a bunch of stuff or did it actually do the right thing? But trying it out that way instead of saying, okay, I'm just going to go read a book and then try and go figure it out, or like I'm going to call people, like see how you can leverage the tools that are at hand. It's like Google, right? Like nobody says or try to doing it without using Google. Right? Like, no, like you use Google because it's there, it's convenient, it'll help you figure out a lot of information. So I think that's the way to kind of think about it. And then, of course, there are like AI focused things themselves, as in, I mean, the classic thing is I'm going to build a chatbot, right? Like, for example, if you want to do it, I'm just making stuff up, so take it with a grain of salt for sure. Like, for example, as your internals come in or like exams come in and people have questions or like they have uh, doubts that they want to get cleared or whatever, like maybe it'll be good to have a chatbot that people can just kind of send their question to, and it'll be an AI along with a teacher who will be able to kind of enhance an answer or like and then give it back or something like that, right? So these things become possible because the tools exist. Earlier, it would be like, oh man, that's too much work. It's not worth it, right? Now, whatever those things that you're thinking of, that you're originally thinking about uh, that were deemed kind of too hard to do, suddenly become possible, right? And yeah, if whatever time I can kind of spare, like if there are specific projects that you're working on or whatever, I'm happy to kind of help, and I'm sure I think others in my batch as well are who are also kind of knee deep in this will be able to help as well.
Yeah, thanks, sir. So yeah, guys, we have another maybe 10-15 minutes, so you can go ahead maybe with one or two more questions. Anyone else has any other question?
Maybe a question to the audience. What is that you guys are doing, with AI, right? What are the things that you've tried out? What are the, LLMs you've tried, or what are the AI agents you've tried? What has been your experience so far?
Looks like
That's a
not many
very
people.
quiet group.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hello.
sir.
Yeah.
Uh, is like I tried building a e-commerce website with the help of like a lovable.dev. Like through that, I took an idea how the website should look like professionally, and by that I built a full stack e-commerce website. And then for data analytics, I tried using Julius, and like getting an idea how to approach, how to solve a thing in 9. Yeah, sir. Like in this way, I'm using AI tools.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. And what have your learnings been?
My learning, sir.
Yeah. So you use these tools, right? Like presumably you're familiar with what it might
Yes,
have
sir.
taken to build the same things without these tools, right?
Like without using these tools, my process would have been lengthy, sir. Like in order to optimize it, we can make use of them, and we can also develop the things within a short period of time.
And like any gotchas? Like where did you feel like, oh, it should have done it, but it didn't?
What, sir? Sorry, sir. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Any gotchas as in like you start trusting it more and more and then suddenly it'll not do the right thing, right?
Yeah, sir. Like, if I'm doing something continuously, somewhere it was breaking down. Like, it was forgetting the things which was doing before. Like, it was not remembering the past things. Because of which I need to tell that I did so and so. Now, what I should do. So this was the drawback, I say.
Yeah, I mean that's a very common thing, and like there is a technical reason for that. It's called the context for the model, right? Think of it as the model has like a small amount of memory, and that is what it can reason on. And if you fill it up with too many things, then it becomes overloaded, and like a bunch of stuff that you had told it earlier just kind of go away, right? So, or they just kind of are not used. So, and this is, I think, one of the key skills of using the AI is to figure out for every task that you give it, in some sense, you had to give it the entire kind of hierarchy of thought process, right? So, at every inference call, it needs to know this is what it was doing, this is the what it has done so far, and this is the next set of things that it needs to do. And all of this is typically done with prompting, right? And tools like Lovable, they have done a good job of doing the prompting, but sometimes even that fails. If you used an LLM directly yourself, you can start seeing, you can look up kind of some of these are called system prompts. um, there's whole notion of context engineering as well that kind of people are talking about too nowadays. But yeah, ultimately, for a model to be able to reason well, it needs to have all the context. So constructing that context for the model is the most important thing to get the most out of the model. I mean, if the model is not powerful, that's different, but most kind of frontier models nowadays are super powerful. It's only now about how are you going to prompt it. But yeah,
Yes, sir.
that's cool. So you, as you start learning about it, and you'll start coming up with some rubrics or some types of rough rules that you want to follow, so that it'll always do the right thing, or for the most part, it'll do the right thing. Cool. Anyone else who's done?
I had a question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, I wanted to know what are some of the skills that companies are looking for in the AI domain. I, for example, have studied some basic levels of AI, like linear regression. I'm working on building a GPT-2 transformer. Is that good enough, or where do I go next from here?
Good question. Um, the fact that you're doing these things itself is great. So you're essentially understanding how these LLMs are getting built. It is uh, definitely the case that people who are building models themselves, they are very few and selective in terms of who they go hire to build the models themselves, right? I mean, that is the case right now. There's no questions about it. Like even within Meta, there are so many really smart researchers, but then they had to go hire a bunch of these other people to kind of come in because they felt that they were able to get things done much faster, right? So um, I would, unless you kind of take on a job of trying to train a model yourself with for like very very specific domains, uh, that so that it's faster with a smaller model and also more accurate. I would say that learning about kind of how these models work will, you can use that knowledge to actually get into companies so that you can use these AIs well, right? And I'm sure, and you can kind of look them up too. If there are some companies, there's one company in India that I know of that is building models, but the name is escaping me right now. Yeah, uh, I'll kind of find that and I'll share with you. But there are specific companies that are actively trying to build models, but most companies are looking for people, I think, who are who are AI native, who are able to use these models to get things done very quickly. Um, yeah, I'm still trying to find the name of the Satvam or Yeah. Anyway, I'll figure out the name and I'll let you know.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
Sarvam. Yeah.
Just wait a second. I'm doing it. Okay, sir. I'm just forwarding Hello. To our team
Hello.
so they can
Yeah,
have
go
a look.
ahead. Who?
Yes. Sir, I'm Nilesh, first year EC student.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, sir, I think it's you who mentioned to see the syllabus copy to Raghu, sir. I mean, the faculty said to us that it's similar to IIT syllabus. I mean, we will run more and more concepts and new things about that. But when I shared my syllabus copy to my seniors and super seniors, they told the name of the topics are only changed. Nothing much has changed. Are we going to learn about concepts which are industry related, or are we going to learn about the old syllabus itself?
I'm not very familiar with your syllabus, but I'll just tell you generically, right? So, um, there are concepts that you have to learn, right? And whether it's an IIT or UVCE, the concepts are the same. So you have to go learn them. Um, in terms of the resources that you have now, uh, there are enough resources that you can go look up. I think the challenge definitely is that if you're being tested on it and like you have homeworks or like internals and like exams on these specific topics, it might seem a little bit uh, uh, artificial, I guess, if it is not relevant to kind of whatever is happening in the real world, right? So it's a little bit, literally, that's the term that we use, which is this is an academic exercise, as in, may not be, it's there just to kind of train your brain more than give you the skills that you need to go used as is in the industry, right? So I guess the best way to think about it is a lot of what you're learning now is how to learn. It's not necessarily what you learn uh, that may be that important. It's about how exactly are you able to grasp new concepts and how you're able to kind of utilize them to solve problems or like build things. Um, because the raw ingredients will change, right? So whatever you have learned now uh, uh, may not be relevant 3 years from now, but how you learned, like you have kind of figured out what are the resources that you have at hand so that you can learn, right? I think that is what you are doing in college is you're learning how to learn actually, right? So even if in fact, this is one of the things that my advisor kind of mentioned, which is that when you're doing a PhD or when you graduate with a PhD, you know that you have learned how to do research. Your actual PhD topic itself may not be something that you use directly, but then you get to learn while doing your PhD, like how to pick up a new topic, get really good at it, and actually push the state of art in it, right? So something similar happens in undergrad, which is maybe not pushing the state of art, but learning how to learn. So maybe using that perspective will help. Um, Instead of just saying, okay, like, am I just learning outdated stuff? Like people learn Latin and things, right? Like it has no utility really, but learning a new language is actually always important and useful. So maybe that perspective will help. But I understand, like you have to graduate and get a job, and like you're learning a bunch of concepts that may not be useful or uh, are not immediately useful. I can understand. I guess, yeah, that's why people are changing the syllabus. But yeah, I don't know exactly what has changed or what hasn't.
Sir, what are your views about doing the startups?
Don't do it. It's fun, very unnerving. When I was doing my startup, whenever I hired somebody, I tell them like, you're not getting a job. This is a lifestyle choice, right? So being in a startup is not like you have a job that you're going and doing your job and coming out. Uh, to get the most out of a startup experience, you have to be all in and do uh, be 100% at it, right? And uh, it can be stressful. It's a lot of and in many cases it might fail. Knock on wood, a lot of the ones that I've worked on have been reasonable successes, but not everything actually succeed. But the experience itself, I mean, I would never, uh, I'd always say kind of try it out, right? Uh, in fact, even my own journey, like I never expected to come back to Meta, which is a 75,000 person company. It's a huge company, right? But then this draw of AI or trying to learn from the best people in the world too, uh, was too enticing for me to kind of go there. But yeah, uh, I'd always, yes, go do it on the startup front. So, uh, but it may not be for everyone, right? So that is also uh, true. It's based on kind of your own mindset, and also are you willing to put in the hours, and are you okay with the risk, because it might actually go to zero, right?
Sir, I had a question. Sir, will AI be implemented in VLSI industry or chip manufacturing? Those just had it out about it. I'm from EC branch.
Yeah. So sorry, what was the question again?
Sir, will AI be implemented in VLSI industry?
Yeah, I'm sure. In fact, I was talking to somebody about using. So at the end of the day, VLSI or like a hardware. I don't know much about the space itself, but I know that there is code there that is involved, right? And if there is code involved, then you can use a model to actually help you write that code. In fact, I was just talking to somebody who, like, in VLSI, I mean, he works in what is known as methodology design in a VLSI firm. And one of the things that they do is they build out these, they have testing software, right? And these pieces of software are like extremely expensive. And uh, when the way that they get used is you come up with a chip design and they run a bunch of simulations they based on timings or whatever, and then they give you a report on the different ways in which your design may be working or not working, right? And two different tools, both expensive, might give you the same bug report, so to speak, by using completely different verbiage or like completely different ways of kind of describing it. But he is the expert and he knows that they both mean the same thing. So his question was, can I build something that can compare the results of these two different test tools so that I can figure out for my specific design which specific test tool is better for me, right? So I just kind of walked him through, here is how you can create like a ground truth data set for your tests. uh, and you can take the results of these two different tools. I didn't even know about the tools. I asked Claude Code what these tools are, what the formats are, and I said, okay, now come up with a way to actually compare these so that you can get like a matrix of, for a given type of test, this test suite or like this particular testing software did it correctly versus not, right? And he was going to go off and kind of just build it. This would have been impossible to think about automating. It was, he was telling me it was hours and hours of work for him, and he's like a very senior kind of, I guess the term is methodology designer or something like that. I forget exactly what his title is, but he was like, yeah, I'm just going to go build, and he hasn't written code in a long time. He's going to go do it, right? So I guess it's happening everywhere. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we will have to wrap up. I know we're, like, say, almost an hour into this. I know it didn't feel like that, but for sure. So I'll ask Sucharita again, just to kind of help me to wrap this up.
I think we're good. This was a good session. Thank you so much, Raghotham. I do see Chetan online. I hope to have the next session with you, Chetan. But this was nice, guys. The more you interact, the more questions you ask, I think, the better we can actually make sure, you can make the most of the session. So come a little more prepared to think, what is that you want to get out of the session, right? What is that you want to learn? I understand some of you are like just about starting engineering. So your thought process is like, what am I doing now? What is that I have to do 4 years from now? It's a lot to think, right? Don't think too much. I think, something new out there, just go ahead and learn. As Raghotham said, don't stop, about what do I do? How do I do? Just get to it, right? Just do it. So that's probably should be a mantra. And with that, good luck. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again, in next month or a few weeks or so. Yeah. Thanks again, guys. Bye. Good day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.